Welcome to Treal Talk. All right. Peace. What's going on? It's your boy Darnell. I got my brother Will. I got my little man Jay. He's joining us. Welcome to Treal Talk. We're just sitting here. We're gonna be chopping it up. A couple of brothers here to just discuss, man, what's going on from every aspect, man, from theology to religion, philosophy, what's going on right now in the world. But UK and Russia,
starting to get interesting, ain't it?
We're just getting crazy right now. So our episode 1, we jumping and dabbing right into a lot of things that's going on from a worldview perspective. So, if you guys were able to check out my intro, on my intro, I was doing a lot of other yapping. It was just me, but I was just kind of painting a picture about where my heart was, what Treal meant to me. TREAL. That's true and real. Just, to be able to dive into what's truth and how that applies to our reality. That was my perspective, and I just got to share a little bit of my story, brother, as I was saying before we jumped into this. And I want to open that up for you to be able to share your story, just give a little background about yourself, and we just gonna let it rock,
Yeah. Well, if there's nothing else, name's Willie. Some of my other ventures with Rock Truth, and you all get to hear about them a little bit more in the conversation back and forth. They call me WillBeDone sometimes, and it's just a play on words, but it's truly what we should all be aspiring first and foremost to be in God's kingdom, to be in general. Let God's will be done, especially if you're going to call yourself a Christian. That it just don't make any sense for you not to allow His will to be done in your life. Right. It don't make it just blows my mind. But with that, father of 2, and technically, if you really, really want to get into it, and this is another conversation for another day, I'm a father of 13.
Dang, that was a big jump. I was ready for you to say, father,
Okay. Father of 13. I would tell you this, man. I have learned that, and I appreciate it because there's somebody out there that has never had the joy of fatherhood, that has never had the joy of parenting. It can be struggle. It can be a struggle, but there's someone that has never had it. And so when people ask me how many kids do I have, I tell them how many kids do I have with me, or how many kids have I had in general, right? And the answer is 13 or close to 13. Okay. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. But husband, son, and for the betterment, I'm learning to be a servant. I'm learning to be more willing to do what is necessary.
Right.
To listen to what is relevant and ignore all of the noise. Okay. And that's just like that's really a revelation that's coming to me right now. I've realized I told my wife this earlier. She was laughing. She was like, because she was talking, but I couldn't understand what she was saying. So I just ignored her. And she was like, why are you ignoring me?
You ignoring me.
You're right. I said, because you're not talking about anything of importance. You're not, and what I found out is that as a man, and I'm trying to express to her as my wife, if you're not talking about something of importance, then it's irrelevant.
Right.
If it don't have to deal with our household, then it's irrelevant. So what are we talking about? What are we having a conversation for? You gossiping me, telling me about something your sister did. I don't care.
Right. Am I gonna grow from this?
Right. At all. Right. Is it going to benefit me in any way? Is it going to make our household better? If the answer is no, I'm listening to it. I'm not even going to entertain it. So, and I'm starting to do that with everything across the board. So
that's crazy you said, man, because I find myself now just like going into these zones,
Mm-hmm.
like all the time.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
if I'm at work, I come home, like I
Mm-hmm.
get into these moments, and you said about that quiet, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like I
Yeah.
am, because I feel like, man, it's everything that's going on in the world right now is just, it seems so loud and
Right.
so busy.
Right.
And when you get that time alone and you allowing the Holy Spirit to speak to you,
Yeah.
and you start to get, like you saying, before we even clicked on, you was talking
Mm-hmm.
about that revelation. It's just
Yeah.
coming to you.
Yeah.
When you in that moment, it's just like it's so fulfilling. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? And it
Yeah.
makes everything else seem
Yeah.
irrelevant. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
People, and I feel like everybody have those moments, but a lot of people just not aware of those moments and what they are. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying?
Right.
And I think I kind of relate to what you're saying, because now I'm recognizing what those moments are,
Yeah.
where I can be at peace and really hear and gain some profound things.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And here's the tripped out thing about that, and I actually want to learn. I want to study more about. I think his name was Methuselah,
Mm,
um, especially in the Genesis portion of the Bible, because I'm still reading
mm,
Genesis 1:1. I
mm-hmm.
read that every day. It's just
Yeah,
it's blowing my mind.
yeah.
But what I've found out about a lot of the thinkers of the Bible,
Mm-hmm.
and thinkers, those they're constantly in the presence of God,
Mm.
is that they weren't trying to be smart.
Okay.
They weren't trying to be deep.
Yeah.
They were just simply learning and listening from God.
Okay.
Now, here's the tripped out thing. You remember when I said ignoring the noise?
Yeah. Yeah.
A lot of times we will tell ourselves that we are right,
Okay.
and then we'll go and do something.
Mm-hmm. Right.
When in reality, what we should have been doing is waiting on God to
Mm.
show us what was right,
Mm.
and
Right. Right.
then
Right.
go and do it.
Right.
Because okay, case in point, my first wife, and she gonna hurt me for saying this, but but my first wife, right? I wanted to be with her so bad, right?
Yeah.
I loved her and I wanted to be with her so bad,
Mm-hmm.
but things didn't work out. And
Mm.
it got to a point where it got beyond toxic. We talking about physically putting our hands on each other. I'm talking about we here with it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So we ended up divorcing. But I turned around and looked at that situation and realized that I wanted that so bad that
Mm.
God said to me, "You want it, I'm going to give it to you."
Mm.
And in
Hmm.
other words,
You
that's
asked
what
for
you
it.
want. You asked for this, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Another case in point. My wife the other day, she wanted to get a job. Right
Right.
now she's a stay-at-home mom, and I need
Yeah.
her to be a stay-at-home mom.
Right.
And she wanted to go get a job, and she comes home, she all depressed and bummed out. She's like, "Willie, I can't seem to find no job." I said, "Well, what did you ask God for?" And she said, "Well, I asked God to be able to give us and provide for us all the things that we needed so that I can stay at home with the baby."
Mm.
God gave you what you wanted. like,
Yeah. Yeah.
like
Yeah.
what are you doing when you start making decisions on your own versus you doing what God has set in motion for you already?
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to. Okay, let me take that back. We don't know how to truly live in the will of God regularly.
Mm.
We go
Okay.
in and out of it.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
in and out of it.
Yeah.
Go ahead. You say I look like you got to listen.
Now I know I want to say, is it possible to stay in that? And I know, and right off the bat, the verse come to mind: walk in the spirit, and ye shall,
Mhm.
you know, you won't fall into the lust of the flesh.
Right.
And my thing is can we stay in that place, in that presence, in that awareness of God around? Because God is always, it's not like we have to go to where he is. He's everywhere all the
Right.
time.
Right.
We're just not aware of his presence
Right.
because we are distracted by so many other things,
Very
our
much
five
so.
senses. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Those things are distracting us, and we're not even aware that he's there. And that's when things happen, when he moves in a situation, and you realize, like, dang, God was right there all that time. I'm complaining and worried about and blah, blah, blah. But he was all that time, he was working in my favor.
Right.
My thing is can we be aware of him all the time? Because sometimes I feel like I would not even function in the world.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes I find myself, it's like, I told bro this. I'm like, it's a football field in between my carnal self and my spirit now. Mm-hmm. It's not a thin line no more.
No.
I know when I respond in my flesh, I know that was my flesh. Like, I made that conscious choice. I know the difference, because God has put such a big wedge in between that. Mm-hmm. So it's just like, when I have to do things of this physical world, that really seems irrelevant to me, because I know that they're just a test. Right. I know this is just a learning curve. This is a challenge for me, so I can grow. Like, every situation, I look at that now. I didn't used to look at every situation like that. Yeah. I look at the smallest thing, the biggest thing. It's just like, man, if I was, God, I just want to stay there, stay in your presence. I want to learn. I want to grow. I want to seek you. I want to see you. And I won't be able to go back and forth. How do we balance? How do we balance that? So
I'm gonna bring up a term, and I brought it up in the chat actually, and nobody brought it up. Well, nobody discovered it, I guess I would say like that. But I like to do that because I like to see where our mindsets are at. The phrase is duality, right? Dual being two things.
Okay. You did throw that out there. I remember you threw it out there, but I didn't.
Right, because I'm often I tell people this all the time when I preach. It's not my responsibility to bake the cake. Mm-hmm. That's not my job. The cake is already baked, right? As far as I'm concerned, my responsibility as a preacher is to give you the ingredients.
Okay.
So that you show yourself approved. Yeah. In other words, you go home and you say, Reverend Joyner said this and this.
And you put that in there or not. I'm gonna add this, I'm gonna add that. Yeah.
And you bake that cake and you discover it on your own. And so there's these two things that are always going on in our lives. And it's the law of two, or duality. Duality.
Yeah.
Right. And so our spirit man and our physical man. And you asking, can we live in our spiritual, or can we be in the presence of God, his, in that focused state all the time? Yeah. And the answer to that is going to be not only difficult, but very difficult, because there's only two biblically that we can come across that were in that space where they walked with God, with technically three. But they walked with God in such a way.
I had three in my head. Okay.
They walked with God in such a way that he just, with Enoch and why am I forgetting the other guy? Not Adam. Adam walked with God, but he didn't take him up. But you know who I'm talking about. Was Elijah. It Ezekiel? Elijah, yeah. Mm-hmm. So he took him up, right? Mm-hmm. And he did it in such a way. But now, don't get it twisted. That's all part of God's plan, one. But it was also in them to worship God in such a way.
Yeah.
I'm saying all of that to say it like this. It's a reason that you can't be that way all the time.
Okay.
It's because of the command that God has given us to do here.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. He gave us dominion over the earth.
Yeah.
We ought to procreate and be fruitful and multiply. Do you realize we got something that the angels cannot do? And I think and I hate to go into another subject almost, but that's the real. I'm gonna tell you a little secret. I think that's why Satan himself, the devil, whatever y'all want to call him, it's so many different names. The adversary. I think that's why he's so upset with mankind. That's why he's so against mankind. Yeah. That's why because he can't multiply.
Yeah.
He can add to.
Yeah.
But he can't multiply. Understand what multiply means. Like adding to your family is making a plus one. But to multiply is to install your wisdom into that child. Because what do they do next? They install it into the next to the next generation, and on and so forth.
And you continue that.
Right. The devil can't do that. He has to influence every person in the time that he has to do it. That's why that's his role. That's his purpose.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be, let me get back to my point. It's going to be difficult.
Yeah.
Because it was never really, well, let me take that back. In the original blueprint, yes. But once sin enters in, there is a partition now.
Yeah.
Yes, Jesus Christ breaks that partition, but we still men, we still flesh.
Yeah.
And therefore we're going to operate in that flesh.
Yeah.
So that's why God gave us the ability to pray.
Yeah.
The ability to sit down.
Yeah.
And focus on me.
Yeah.
Sit down and look at me. Think of it this way. You brought the question up. Can you operate in both places? Where's the balance? Are you intimate with your wife all the time?
No. Good.
Right.
Good.
And
Good analogy.
I'm talking about physical intimacy. Right.
No.
Physical intimacy. It's impossible.
It's different. It's different phases of your relationship.
Different phases. Yes. So it's important. It's important to realize that you're always in the intimate state with your wife, but to be in a physical intimate portion, dude, you know how crazy that will look.
Right. Yeah. Now I see where you're going. I see where you're going. I like how we starting this off, because you definitely was about to just go somewhere when you start talking about.
I had to pull it back.
Yeah, we got, because I want to jump right in there and talk about why these angels slept with humans. But I'm gonna regress.
Okay.
But I like how you starting this off talking about the presence of God, though.
Yeah.
I really like that, because in everything that we're doing in our discussions and for y'all watching, if y'all don't know, like, man, this is an everyday thing for us. I could say since November of last year, that was the first text chat, the group chat, every day. And I kid you not, I've went through all. It's not one day that one of us don't throw a question out there, a comment, shoot a video or something, But as we do, as we search for knowledge and wisdom and understanding, none of this means anything if we don't obtain and understand that relationship between ourselves and the Father.
Yeah,
that's what Christ made attainable for us.
Yeah.
That was the whole point of this thing. The whole point of this thing is, I'm the way, the truth, and the life.
Right.
My life is the truth.
Yep.
And this truth is the way.
Yep.
I like to go backwards and forth.
He made it relatively simple, but we want to complicate it for whatever reason.
And we do. We put all of these barriers and beliefs and all that. And he was like, no, this is how you obtain this relationship with the Father yet again.
Yeah.
So it's just
I'm sorry, but look at the relationship that Christ has with the Father, right? Because Nando brought this up a couple of times. How can Christ pray to God if he is God, right? And I was just like, because that's the relationship of the Father. That's the relationship. In other words, I look at it like this, and I'm learning so much from my children. I got a 13-year-old right now and he just turned 4 actually, and the 4-year-old, right?
Yeah.
I'm discovering that the relationship that we have with one another, even my 13-year-old, if I'm thinking something, he'll be like, we should go do that. And I'm like, how did he know that I was thinking we should go do that? Right.
Yeah.
It's because of a relationship. It has got nothing to do with the fact that he is not me and I'm not him. It's got everything to do with the relationship.
Yeah, and how close you are.
And how close we are. We want to put this stamp on Christ, the Holy Spirit, and God, that they can't coexist all at the same time and be able to talk to one another all at the same time. You talk to you, don't you?
Yeah.
Your mind, body, and spirit. Come on, something. So it seems so simple. We make so difficult, and I understand. There's still people out there that want to discuss the matter and even argue the matter. It is not per se an argument for me. It's something that I've just seen in my children.
You've seen that example,
I see it almost every day,
Mhm.
and it made it simple when I saw it. I'm just like, oh, that's why he prayed to his father, because
Yeah.
it's his father.
Do you,
That's the
do
relationship they had. Go ahead.
do you think it's safe to say that every relationship, situation, circumstance that we face in life is always mimicking how our relationship should be to the father, or how the father and the son's relationship is to one another? Like, it's so many examples of that, and I like how you pinpointed
Mm-hmm.
for you. That's what
Mm-hmm.
you're seeing. That's how you were able to understand that relationship that Christ had with his father, and that he longs for us to have with him.
Yeah.
I think we talked about that in the chat, and I was,
Yeah.
John. I've been falling in love with John.
Mm-hmm.
And not First John, Second John, Third John, but of course Revelations I love,
Right.
but the Gospel of John.
Yeah.
And in, I think it's what, in chapter 14, when he's praying. Well,
Okay.
no, he's talking to his disciples, but then he goes into prayer and he's praying. He's talking to his father.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that you've always said about him being in the father and the father being in him, and they being one.
Mm-hmm.
But then as he's praying, he's saying, no, I also want that for them.
Yeah.
All of my
Yeah.
disciples, and not just my disciples, but
Yeah.
everyone that believes on me, that hears the words of my disciples,
Yeah.
they will be in me,
Yeah.
like I'm in you.
Yeah.
And together we are one. So he's trying to bring that unity. He's
Yeah.
trying to bring that oneness. He's trying to share that with us.
Yeah.
He's trying to share that connection that he has with his father, that people argue and try to debate and try to figure out, try to understand, well,
Right.
how can Christ be God and God getting that, and how can
Right.
he's trying to bring us into that fold.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
He's just trying to get us past that one point, like, stop it.
yeah. And the biggest thing is division.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Division will stop that.
Mm-hmm.
It will stop me and you from having that connection.
Yep.
From you and your wife having that connection.
Yep.
Like I say, for me, I see it with my marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Talked about your relationship with you and your kid. But he said what? He said the two shall become one flesh.
Yeah.
He didn't say one. He said one flesh.
One flesh.
Like that's physically impossible.
Yeah.
But that just shows you the gravity of how much he's saying that man and woman need to come into
together,
unite, and that's showing that symbolism of that's what he wants everybody to understand, that his relationship to the father is.
My son is
cooking.
My
He
kitchen.
cooking. You gave that one eye, like,
oh my gosh, he got a hold of the pots. He know I can't get up right now.
Hey, but see, that's his uniqueness now. Y'all might be linked and be the same, but hey, he always gonna show he gonna do something different to it.
At least he ain't got no knife. He got the pots and he just pouring water from one pot to another. And here's a beautiful thing, man. And you got kids, right?
I got 5.
Okay,
six. And then if I really want to say it, I can't even really count the other kids that but
no, I know what you mean. But it's the beautiful thing is, like,
I file taxes. I could file taxes on 5.
I don't blame you. Them the ones that count.
Right, them the ones that count. So,
but it's a beautiful thing because he's discovering all these new things in the house and stuff. So he just become an older baby, older child.
Yeah.
And so a couple about 2-3 weeks ago, we was watching the cooking show, and he sat down in front of me and he brought me one of the spoons, ladle, right? Yeah. And he was, he's waving it around in the air, and I'm like, what is he doing? Then he brought a pot in from out of the kitchen, and he stirring it and stuff. And I'm thinking to myself, like, how often? Because at that moment, I was about to tell him, go put that back, because I don't want you playing with the pots and pans.
Yeah.
But something clicked on me and said, no, encourage him. Don't discourage the action, encourage the action. And I'm just like, all right, why would I?
Right. I'm supposed to be,
because I'm the parent. I'm supposed to be, stirring up. It was like, encourage him. So something was like, go get him some pots and pans. Go get him some toy spoons. Go get him some toy fruit. And that's what I went out and did, because I don't know what he's going to grow up to be. He may grow up to be a chef.
Yeah.
He may grow up to be a world-renowned chef.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
if I stifle that now, and so it caused me to think and wonder what was stifled in my life, in my childhood. You know, what could I have been if my parents had have said yes versus them saying no?
Mm.
You know, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
you know, you start
Yeah.
thinking
They
back,
just let you explore it.
right? Let me explore. Like I remember one time I was putting I put a plug together and it was
Hmm.
still plugged into the wall.
Yeah.
I almost blew myself up. But I what I would imagine though, what if my mama had went and bought me some electrician toys versus me just playing with real
Mm.
life? What if she had
Yeah.
enrolled me in an electrician
They make
course?
good money.
Right. You know, I would have
Right.
probably, I
Right. Right.
mean, see what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
might have
Yeah.
been something different. So, you
Yeah.
know, I'm getting into that phase now of my fatherhood
Hmm.
of encouraging my children. You know, if I see just the glimmer
Yeah.
of something that they want to do, let them do it. You know, if it's
Yeah.
safe, let them do it.
Yeah.
You
Right.
know,
But you think that's what's happening with us now? You think God just letting us just go ahead and do it? Here goes some pots and pans. Figure it
ah,
out.
I think so.
Yeah.
Because look, it there's there's no harm
Hmm.
to discovering God.
Hmm.
There's no harm to here's a good analogy. It's like living in a house and you never been upstairs.
Hmm.
You always
Okay.
lived in the basement. Because
Okay.
technically you know, this is the first floor for us, right? We just
Yeah.
like, oh, you know, if you don't
Hmm.
discover what's in that house, then how could you possibly live in it?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You
If
gotta
you don't
walk
know.
around, you know, you gotta
Hmm.
get to know the place, you know.
Get into stuff.
You got to get into some stuff, you know. And
Hmm.
we, in the eyes of God, this is the tripped out thing, and this is Nando's thing. I wish he was here because I
Hmm.
thought about it just earlier. But in the
Hmm.
eyes of God, we're just babies.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, the Bible calls him the Ancient of Days.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
he's so far. And I don't want to put age on God because that would be just totally stupid. But the thought process is this: it's a reason I will never. Oh, how did I think about it? It's a reason I will never be wiser than my dad, or it's a
Hmm.
reason I'll never be stronger than my dad. It's a
Hmm.
reason I'll never be older than my dad
Okay.
because he's the oldest.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
You
Yeah.
see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
God is the big. He's before
Beginning.
the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you can't phantom what
Hmm.
he already knows. You can't
Hmm.
even begin to think of that process. Just like my baby.
You trying to figure that out.
Right.
We
We
trying to
try to
figure
figure
out what he know, and
and
that's what
and
your
and
kid trying to do. Yeah.
right. And even if I get a fraction of it, that's still just a fraction. I'm just a baby in front of God. I'm
Yeah.
literally a baby with limited knowledge and
Mm.
access to limited knowledge. Like right now,
Right.
he over there playing, he got access to limited knowledge.
Yeah.
And he
Yeah.
will
Yeah.
always have access to limited. We will always be limited.
Unless if I feel like with God, he takes those limitations off.
Oh yeah.
We place limitations on ourselves,
Hmm.
you know, when we try to think that we know
Hmm.
what we know on our own, and you really don't. Learn from me, and that's how you'll be able to walk limitlessly. You see
Let
what
me
I'm
tell you.
saying?
Let me tell you something I discovered.
Mm-hmm.
You know what faith is, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's the opposite of faith?
I would say fear.
That's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
The opposite of faith
Mm-hmm.
is I'm trying to find the actual word for it.
Mm-hmm.
The opposite of faith is being sure of a thing. To
Okay.
be you are
Oh, I know what you're trying to say.
yeah. Why can't I think of the word?
Uh,
Um, good grief. To be sure of something is to be
be
that
confident.
confident. Okay. Yeah, we can use
Mm-hmm.
that
Yeah.
because here's the thing. When you're confident in something
Mm-hmm.
and you conclude that that's what that is,
Yes. Can't nothing.
can't nothing change.
You put a limit on it.
Yeah, you put the limit on it.
You
Now
put the
it
limit
is
on it.
that.
It
So
can't be
so
anything
so
else.
so
It
so
can't
if
be
I
anything more than
right,
what you think it is.
and guess what happens now when faith comes into play? You can't. This is why you see Peter walking on the water, because his mindset is, I'm going to do what I'm going to walk out on faith versus I'm going to walk out on what I know.
Right.
If I walk out on what I know, then I'm going to drown.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if I walk out on faith, which is what God said, God said, come to me.
Yeah.
If I walk out on that, then I'll be all right.
Yeah.
That's why we get this story. So the opposite of faith is that concluding and saying, "Oh, I know,
putting a period on it." Yeah.
But you can't ever in this life put a period in it or put a period on it, because the story continues. There is always something that you will not know, and that's why science and spirituality are so conflicted. When they should be conjoined, they're conflicted. They're bumping each other's head because science is trying to conclude what is a thing. Spirituality is saying just keep going. I'm rambling, but I think that's why and I hate to say this, but I think this is why some people, especially Black people, have such a better time or an easier time spiritually than others. And I'm not talking about just Black people. I'm talking about just people, spiritual people. Like they have a better time in this world and understanding things because they allow themselves to be open to it and say, you know what, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. If I'm right, I'm right. I'm not going to be concerned about whether I'm wrong or right. I'm just going to keep on living according to his word or according to whatever my belief is, whatever my belief structure is. But science is conclusive, right? It's like, it's what it is. It's never going to be anything else. That's where the problem comes in, you know? And I think that's where, I think God did it intentionally to show us that look at how big and different y'all are, you know, and in all fairness, I think those two things will eventually come together because at one point in time they were together.
Yeah, they were.
At one point in time they were together. And I think that's why you see a lot of tribal, when you go back, if you go looking in Africa and stuff like that, there's a lot of tribes that they're just spiritually in tune. They are spiritually so in tune that they don't have to wonder if a plant is going to kill them or not. They just look at the plant. If the animals don't eat the plant, then don't eat the plant.
But if they eat it, then it's good. And there's something about it that's good for me. Right.
You know, but there's that spiritual, you know, the spiritual side of it is just look at what the animals are doing. But the science side is
one with nature.
Right. The science side is we need to study it and see why aren't they eating the plant. No, the God put the thing there and the monkey died. Don't eat the monkey and don't eat the plant.
Right. That monkey tainted now. Right. And you use the word spirituality. Is there a difference between spirituality and religion?
Yes.
What would you say that is?
Religion is an act. Religion, to me, I won't be conclusive in that regard. We just talked about it, right? But do you know what the first religion is?
That's known.
Okay.
I would say Hinduism.
Okay. You would be correct as far as mass following, something that's written down on paper, people in a certain ideology. But the way that the Bible puts religion is the thing that you're putting on right now. It's the clothes that's on your back.
Okay.
This is a religion. Okay. And here's the kicker. Religion's purpose or its design was to allow man, us, women, children, all of that, to get back into the presence of God.
Okay.
So the first religion you ever see biblically is when God took when Adam and Eve took the fig tree to cover their shame.
Okay.
That's a religious act. because they were trying to get back in the presence of God. They noticed that they were out of the presence. They noticed that they were naked, and they said, "How can we get back to God?"
So that their attempt to cover up what they felt shamed them
Yep.
and separated them from God. They tried to cover it up so they can be back with God.
Yep.
So what I'm gathering from you, and I like this. I like this. Good. What I'm gathering is that with religion is something that you are ashamed of, that you feel separates you from God, that you yourself are trying to cover up so you can be next to God.
You hit the nail on the head, man.
Okay. So, all right. And I want to play around with that a little bit more, but I'm going to throw another one out there. Theology and religion.
Well,
is there a difference? And if so, what would be?
It's going to be hard to say. I don't per se think theology and religion are separate. I think then the reason I would say that is because there's levels to theology, but there aren't. I don't want to say that there's levels to religion. You can be religious about anything. We just have the tendency to associate that word with Christianity or with Hinduism, with Buddhism, with with all the isms, right? And so when it comes to theology, however, because there are different levels. I mean, it's this theology in the simplest terms is the study of God, the study of Elohim, the study of Yahweh, the study of Yahshua, the study of these terms, this being that we call God. But to that fact, when you start studying God, you start studying everything that you can come across with God. So now you're going into another level because you have your theologians, which are predominantly biblical based, but then you have your theologians that are Dead Sea Scroll based, and the Book of Enoch, and the Book of Yasher, and the Gnostic Gospels, and the and on and on. And then you have theologians that only study the 16, King James version, the 1611. So you start getting into these different levels of studying, and here's a problem that comes into place, because ultimately the knowledge, it starts to differentiate. If I'm studying the King James version and you studying the New Living Translation, we're going to be reading not necessarily two different Bibles, but two different translations of the text, or interpretations of the text, right? And so what you're reading and what I'm reading, if we're having a debate or a discussion on a particular issue, you may be getting something out of it because that's the way your text is reading versus what I'm getting out of it because that's what my text is reading. So I think it's just the levels that concern me. But as far as is there that difference between the two? I think theology kind of umbrellas religion. Unfortunately. But religion is and I will tell you this, I don't like being called religious. I don't like being religious. I enjoy just studying and worshiping God for who he is versus me trying to get back into his presence, because I can't do it on my own. Guess what? I just can't do it.
Well, here's where I'm at with that. And it's real simple to me. You can have religion without God.
Okay. Yeah.
But you can't have theology without God.
Right.
And that's how I look at it.
Yeah.
Religion with or without God, or a God, or some gods, or no God. but you can be religious about something. And
Yeah.
I like to think that to be religious is to have a hard pressed devotion
Mm-hmm.
to a certain set of ideas.
Yeah.
Because I ain't gonna say one idea. It don't have to be one idea, but it could be a certain set of one ideas
Yeah.
that you have a hard pressed commitment to.
Yeah.
That if anything goes against that,
Mm-hmm.
if anything pulls away from that, you won't let it deter you. You're going to
Right.
stay stuck at that. And
Right.
you will protect that by any and all means.
Yeah.
You will protect that. And
Yeah.
and I believe that most things that we do religiously,
Mm-hmm.
we believe in
Mm-hmm.
that for whatever reason it is. Like I say, because it could be without God. You
Right.
can work out religiously or whatever the case may be. That could be your God.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot believe in God, and that's your religion because
Mm-hmm.
that's what you believe, and you stand on that.
Right.
Whereas, like you say, with theology, you said there's levels,
Mm-hmm.
because with theology, because you're trying to get to know something that's unknowable.
Yeah. Yeah.
God is he's unknowable.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can know some things about him, but you will never
Right.
get to the point where you know.
Yeah.
With religion, you basically feel like you know.
Yeah.
This is what it is, and
Yeah.
if somebody tell you that's not
Yeah.
what it is, no, they're
And,
wrong, and that's what it is. So that's how I like to
yeah.
look at that, and just to throw that out there, like you said, you don't like to be put in that category
Yeah.
of religious, but you're part of a religion.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
You're
It
part
is.
of a
Yeah.
religion. And either way it going, I try to tell myself that, me and bro was talking, and I'm just like, I used to, at one point I felt like, maybe I'm apologetic. I thought I was
Okay.
that at first. I
Okay.
listened to so many different
Yeah.
apologetics, and
Yeah.
and I really thought about what they were doing with they're defending
Mm-hmm.
Christianity.
Right.
So anything that they do far as seeking understanding about things outside of that religion of Christianity was only for the purpose of defending what they
Mm-hmm.
believed.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like, man, that limits whatever it is that you're discovering outside of your religion.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't, I'm not apologetic. So it's just like, what I end up realizing, and bro be saying that all the time about how we put God in the box. Sometimes we put people good, and we just got through. I don't know if you was listening to this last conversation we said that he started laughing like ain't nobody ever said that I put God in the box. I was like, nah, I'm just messing with you.
Yeah.
But I mean, but I feel like that about me. I don't want to put myself in a box either.
Right.
If God is not in a box,
right.
Why do I have to be in a box?
Right.
And if I am in a box, put me in God's box, which there's no box.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
To that point though, because and this is not to per se to limit us in any way, but I've had to come to the realization. We just had I want to say 7 people at the church that I attend pass away. Okay.
Wow.
And it helped me realize something. Yeah, they passed away within a month's time.
Wow.
Of each other, right? It was just a lot of funerals. They were older, but still, it's just a lot. So, but it helped me realize something about that word box. We inherently are limited because we are in a box that's inside of a box. That's inside of another box.
Okay.
That even then is inside of another box.
Okay.
So you have all of these barriers that you have to break in order to even get close to God. If you're outside of his will. But once you step inside of Christ, or once you step inside of the idea and reference of Christ, he tears down those boxes so that you can readily go to him.
Mm. Yeah.
And so that's where the form of religion, as far as Christianity, comes into play, that I would say helps us to achieve that in
Mm-hmm.
such a way that we're not back in another box. Like you just
Okay.
said, I want
Mm-hmm.
to be in God's box,
Okay.
but what's the only way to do that? Through Christ. And
Okay.
so if that's the only way for me to get, per se, in his box,
Mm-hmm.
then that's what I'm willing to do, because I want to get, because the more and more time I spend inside of my box, guess
Mm-hmm.
what? I'm not going to get anywhere, because I can't even get out of the first box, let alone the third and fourth box that's
Yeah.
down the line. And
Yeah.
so I if if I had to say anything to that regard,
Mm-hmm.
it would be that when you know your limitations, or when you realize that you're who you really are, as far as, like, we are man,
Mm-hmm.
we're mind, body, and soul. When we
Yeah.
realize the limit, just how small we
Mm-hmm.
are,
Yeah.
and when I say small, I'm talking about small.
Yeah.
It helps our understanding the grandeur
Mm-hmm.
of God.
Yeah.
Your children are not afraid of you because you daddy. Your
You
children
bigger than
are
them.
you bigger than him.
Mm-hmm.
That is exactly why they fear you. That's why we should fear God. We
Mm-hmm.
should fear him because he is immense.
Yeah.
It's beyond measure. And
Yeah.
so but I think that's where a lot of people fail in religion, because
Mm-hmm.
they're in this place of, oh, if I do this, then God will do that. I actually
Yeah.
heard TD Jakes say that.
Mm-hmm.
Bruh, I wanted to call him that night. Like, you
You
can
got his
never say
number?
it. I
Nah, nah. Like, man, let me hit
bring
me
him
up,
on
man.
here.
I'm trying to pitch a movie idea to him, man. If you got his number, no, but
but
just go ahead.
but he actually said that. He actually said that, and he said it in some conference. I don't know if he was, per se, preaching a text out of the Bible, but it could have been out of context. But his words were that he wanted to put himself in such a position with God that God owes him. And I
Mm,
said, he owes you?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Who are you?
yeah, yeah,
These are the same words that Job said.
yeah.
That I mean, not Job. Not Job didn't say it, but God said to Job.
Bro,
God said,
yeah,
what?
yeah, yeah. Was you there when I?
Bruh.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
I made the sun and the star, dropped them
and
stars. Boop,
every,
boop, boop.
every
Yeah,
time, I read through, like, every time I hear a preacher preach that sermon, like, it just pops in my head, just seeing God, like, what?
yeah.
So,
Right, right,
what?
right,
What you mean? Why are you suffering? Oh,
right, right, right.
where was you at?
Yeah, right, 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 right.
Good
Yeah.
question, right? Where was you at?
It's entitlement, man.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like what I was trying to say to bro when we was talking about uh how we think that we just the creme de la creme.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is I feel like God still makes us feel that important because
Yes.
we are
To him.
to him.
Yes.
But in the grand scheme of things, in comparison to everything else that
Yeah.
he's made and he's created,
Yeah.
like we're just one of those many things.
Mhm.
He
Yeah.
doesn't, it is. We're great in his eyes, but like, man, compared to so many things that he's done, and it's just like, man, just stay in your lane,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's a good lane to be in
Right.
because I feel like he's given us the ability to understand his mind.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Like I can't shoot across the galaxy at
Right.
warp speed like a comet can.
No.
You know what I'm
No.
saying? I can't be into every little molecule and every
Right.
little facet of, I like quantum physics,
Okay.
like gases and
Yeah.
atoms and molecules and
Yeah.
they can go right now. It's stuff that we can't even see just,
Right. Right.
going in and out of our body.
Yeah.
Like I can't do that, but I can obtain and understand
Yeah.
or at least follow this path to understand the God's mind.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So at the same time, I see what he's saying. Like, we're a big deal to God, but we're not a big deal. And I think it's that humbleness that unlocks the wisdom that he has for us.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
It's like just back to what you're saying about the opposite of faith is being what did we say the word? Certainty.
That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah, certainty.
Yeah.
What is the other word that we said?
Confident.
Confident.
To be confident. Yeah.
But confident, it puts that limit in that block.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And I feel like that humility takes that block off. You know what I'm saying? Because I want to be a student of the game.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I want to learn all that and that's how I feel in this life, man. It's like the more understanding that I gain just from seeking God every day, it's like the more I feel like I don't know nothing.
Right. Yeah.
Did that make sense?
Absolutely. I was talking to my dad the other day, and I was telling him about the group, right? And I even showed him a couple of tests, and he said, "Oh, this is good. This is good." He said, "You're realizing," because my dad is a pastor too. And he said, "You're realizing for every question," and I put this in the group once before. For every question that you ask, you're gonna get 1,000 more questions.
More
and
questions.
I was like,
yeah.
I was like, wait, should I get an answer? He said, no, you'll get 1,000 more questions. He said, the more and more you seek God's face, the more and more questions you'll have about, about him. He said, you'll never. And you're right. You'll never obtain all of the continents. Hey, can you take it easy? Take it down a notch. Oh my God. I know. Yeah. But you'll never experience the full continents of God.
Yeah.
Angels. Duh. I was looking at, do you understand angels were second in creation? Like second. And they don't have a full understanding of God. They have a purpose, a role, a lane, and they serve in that role, and they serve in that purpose. And they're the closest to God that I can understand. The only thing that's closer to God is time and space. Literally.
And I would say that's just a part of God.
Yeah.
So I be throwing them words emanation out there all the time, man. That's one of my words.
Yeah.
But those things I like to think of everything that's not visible.
Okay.
It's things that emanate from God.
Okay.
People ask me all the time, when I'm coming to work and all this, how you doing? I'm saying I'm blessed.
Yeah.
That's always my response. I'm blessed. But I'm blessed because of the air that I breathe. That you can't see.
No.
I tell people that all the time. I said, I tell people, you're a man of faith, you're a woman of faith. These people that not religious. Some people don't even believe in God. I don't believe in faith. But you do. Right. Every time you walk in the room, you don't take an air meter and test the air.
You just assume that it's there.
Is it the oxygen level is between 19.5 and 23% oxygen? Oh, this is breathable. Let me go in.
You just assume it's there.
You just assume it's there. You believe it's something that you can't see.
It's
and faith. What you can't see, and that's God. And I love thinking about it in that way because you see how the spiritual collapses on our physical world every day. When you understand things that you can't explain, the science, that's what they try to do. They try to explain it. They try to explain light. You try to explain darkness. You try to explain, you try to explain these things. But at the end of the day, those are the attributes of God collapsing on us all the time.
I like the way you put it, collapsing on us.
It is.
We don't realize just how I don't think well, maybe someday we will. No, I don't even think so then. But I don't think we will ever really realize the omnipresence of God.
Yeah, I'm glad you went there, man. I honestly believe that And I think about when Christ said, "Eyes have not seen, ears have not heard, nor is it
Mhm.
entered into the hearts of man the things that God has prepared for them to love Him."
Uh,
Like, think about what He's saying. You know, I really don't think that we understand. I do believe that it's so much more that we're going to understand
mhm.
that we don't understand now. And I think what we're trying to do, we're trying to understand it now. When
Mhm.
God is just like, no,
No, you wouldn't be able to
I
handle it now.
yeah, I want you to get to know me. I want you
Uh-huh.
to get to know really. And sometimes I like to think that this is not even so much about getting to know God.
Hmm. Hmm.
Bear with me with this for 1 second.
Yeah. No,
This
I
is
got
not
you.
even about. This is not even really about getting to know God.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna throw the mystical approach in it. You know what I'm saying? Because Christ is in us. You know.
Mm.
Um. So when you say, some people like, I got to find myself. I got to get to know
Mm.
myself and all that.
Mm.
But if you seek Christ in you,
Mm.
that is by default what you're doing. You are
Mhm.
getting to know yourself.
Yeah.
And I believe that's one of the uh the allegory parts of Christ's life. When you
Okay.
look at his life, is that's what he was being that example of
Mm.
you seeing yourself.
Hmm.
People always be like, well, what would Jesus do?
Yeah.
Like, put yourself in those shoes.
All right.
Put yourself in Christ's shoes, and envision that that's you.
Right.
You can be Christ-like.
Yeah.
He said, greater things shall ye do.
Yeah.
He's saying you can do what I did. You can
Yeah.
live this life. It's possible.
Mhm.
This is how I made you to be.
Yeah.
Let me show you.
Right.
I like to say everything that God expected us to do, He did.
Hmm.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I did it. I showed you how it's done. So
Yeah.
it's like, I think this whole life journey is you getting to know yourself and find yourself.
Yeah.
That's what this is in this physical. I believe that that's the first stage, the first step.
Mm.
Once you finish that
Hmm.
process,
Yeah.
and we go over into now, we're prepared because
Yeah.
we know who we are,
Right.
our spiritual selves. Now we're ready to walk this spiritual journey now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that the next stage, I think it's another journey. It's a
Yeah.
different life.
Yeah.
It's a different journey. We can't fathom what it is right now, and even to try to go into it,
Hmm.
you know, it's just okay. We just got this perception in our mind of okay, judgment day. And me and bro was talking about that too. I'm just like,
Mm.
as far as a time thing, I think I die today. That's judgment day for me. You die 2 days from that. That's judgment day for you. You
Yeah.
just catching up. It's
Yeah.
already happened.
Yeah.
Everything that we read in prophecy,
Yeah.
everything that we understand
Already
in this
happened.
life is already happened.
Hmm.
And we're just catching up to that.
Right.
Okay, but after that, you don't know what it is, and we can't fathom it. Some
Right.
people think we just gonna be holy, 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 is the Lord
Hmm.
God Almighty, just all day and night.
Yeah.
You just
Yeah.
worship it because that's all we can
Yeah.
understand.
Yeah.
Some people think I'm gonna finally get a Maserati and a mansion. You know what I'm saying? Why, bro? Because that's all we can understand.
Right.
We can't understand what the next phase is to
Right.
think that that's the end.
Right.
We think that that's the end, and that's just not another life that we're experiencing. We
Yeah.
might get into the spiritual realm. We started in the physical,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna use some other terminologies from other belief systems.
Mm.
You're at your lowest state of consciousness.
Yeah.
You're at the lowest state, and you're moving up in dimensions.
Yeah.
Okay, vibrations. You're moving up.
Right.
You move over to the spiritual now. We don't know. I ain't got a name for it because
Yeah.
we ain't got there yet. We don't know
Yeah.
what's on the other side of spirituality. We think, because you got to think, we're talking about an invisible God.
Hmm.
We're trying to get to that invisible. I wanted to make up a word. Invisibility, invisibility.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
trying to get. That's where we're trying to
Right.
go. If you,
Right.
I I'm all over the place. I read a lot of Gnostic texts, right?
Okay.
And trying to think which one it is. So many. It's a lot of
Mm.
Nagamani library. But one thing I like when I was reading it, and it talks about, these emanations of God and these levels of God as it transition, all of the fullness of God.
Yeah.
Bible speaks of that.
Yeah.
all of these attributes, all of these characteristics of God.
Right.
The Gnostics explain them as entities.
Yeah.
Okay, as entities. And when it trickles down and we get down and we finally start to get into the angelic realm and the angelic choir, because they're closer to us. We're closer to angels
Yeah.
than we are
Yeah.
this divine counsel, this
Right.
divine, they use the word pleroma of God, this, and I feel like as you start to progress up that spectrum, the whole point of this is each level is learning a little bit more each time you go up.
Yeah.
If you look at the angelic choir, it's certain things that angels know and they do, but archangels know a little bit more.
Yep.
And the archangel's job is to get these angels
Right.
up to where they at.
Right.
But then these archangels, you got these, these virtue angels, and they know this, and they're trying to pull you up, and the minions and the principalities and this, and you got all of these different, and then you get to seraphim and cherubim, and cherubim are so close to God, and they hover around the throne of God. They're so close to God that if somebody in this lower spectrum was to see a cherubim, they would have thought that they saw God.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's just like, that's where we're at. We're trying to get up to this threshold. We're trying to get to this place. And the thing about it is, this is why these life journeys, everlasting life. Think about that. We're not losing. We have life now.
Yeah.
Life more abundantly. Yeah. These lives.
Yeah. Yeah.
And never stop.
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw the well, I can't say reincarnation because that's carnal self, that's talking about flesh, but if I could put a word in that, rephasing, resolation.
Okay.
This is your soul, right?
Not a word, sir.
But your soul is continuing on this path and this journey, and it's as you understand more of God that it brings you into this next. And this is just what my man's what I think about was I think about the afterlife. I think about, and I don't think about it in a way of, oh, I'm ready to die and I'm ready. I'm not. I want to spend as much time. I want to spend as much time that God wants me to have exploring and learning the things that I need to learn. And I want to enjoy it. I want to enjoy the trial. I just to jump back to how we even started this conversation, we was talking about the presence of God, and he threw out there Enoch, Elisha, and Jesus. I think that was the third person that you was referencing.
Adam technically would be the one that walked with God.
Okay. Oh, but you said who walked with God. That's what you said.
Who walked with God. Right.
I thought you said that was taken up. But
but taken up was Enoch and Elijah. Yeah,
Elijah. But man, when you look at Enoch's life, and of course outside of just the Bible, and we read in the book of Enoch, and actually, was it even the book of Enoch? I think it might be in Jubilees. Because they talk a little bit about Enoch too, but it talks about how he had got to this point where he would just go away and be gone.
Yeah, and just phase out.
He's gone. Then he come back. He just pop up, and then he'll be there for a couple of weeks. And the time got shorter and shorter and shorter until finally he left, and they follow him. Like, you can't go keep leaving. You can't keep coming back to us with these jewels, dropping these life jewels and nuggets on us. Where you getting all this knowledge from? We want that, you know. But I think when we was talking about, that's what made me think about it when you was talking about walking in the spirit. I'm like, how can you do that? I feel like that's what happened with Enoch. He couldn't keep going back to this.
Right.
He had experienced so much about this afterlife that he's just like, I'm ready to make this next journey.
Right.
You know,
but that's why I say it's going to be difficult, and I think that's why it's not for us. It was for Enoch. It was for Elijah. And it's very specific for them. But for us in this time, in this place now, we have a responsibility. We have a role. And we are barely doing it. We have a hard time doing the Great Commission right now. Just going out and getting people, discipling people, right?
But see,
and bringing these people into these conversations. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I believe that the reason why you see a lot of the patriarchs in scripture
Mm.
and just the great thinkers.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna limit it. The great
Mm-hmm.
thinkers, the great minds that have left so much for
Mm-hmm.
us to dissect now is
Yeah.
because it was a period of God establishing knowledge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you saw that. I
Yeah.
think you might have seen that equation. I ain't good at math, so anytime I get to put something in an equation type form, I feel like I'm smart. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, but remember, I don't know if you remember when I threw that on there, and the Holy Spirit started to give me that about law.
Mm-hmm.
Law, God's law is knowledge,
Okay.
because that's what knowledge is. Knowledge is information.
Okay.
It's principles and equations and all of that good stuff. That's
Mm-hmm.
what a law is. You can't defy a law. If you defy a law, whatever that law is, the law of will not
Okay.
work like it should. You know,
Yeah.
I was saying this to somebody the other day, and I used the car like now, and because it's a difference between a law and a commandment.
Yeah.
Commandments change.
Mm-hmm.
They change based off of what I need you to do.
Okay.
I could command you to put some gas in my tank.
Right.
You could break that commandment and not
Right.
put gas in the tank.
Right. Right.
But you can't break that law. That
Right.
car's still going to work.
Right.
Yeah, it's going to need some gas.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But you can't break that law. The law is I got to put gas in that car for
Right.
it to work. You can't
Right.
put orange juice in that tank.
No.
You break that law, the car is not going to do what it needs to
No.
do. You know what I'm saying? So something, so my point is you could break that commandment, but somebody else could come and fulfill that commandment.
Right.
Somebody going to put gas in this car.
Right. Right.
But ain't nobody going to put orange juice in it
No.
because you're going to break the law and that,
Right.
So anyway, but I feel like, when we look at, antiquity as a whole,
Mm-hmm.
God was really laying down the foundation for knowledge.
Okay.
But then as we progress through time, it was a point where all of this knowledge was established on the earth.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
From science
Right.
to laws,
Right.
from a divine law,
Right.
to the laws of nature,
Okay.
to moral laws and
Yeah.
ethical codes. Those things were established. Boom. I got what I need.
Okay.
Now, in order for us to walk in wisdom, because that's the ultimate goal, is wisdom. Because wisdom, what is wisdom? Wisdom is knowledge understood and applied.
Right.
You can have knowledge of something
Right.
and not understand it
At all.
You can understand something,
Yeah.
but not apply it.
Never.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's the end result what we're trying to get to.
Yeah.
Well, what brought about that understanding?
Yeah.
Christ.
Yeah.
It was at that point that Christ, and I feel like, and I used, when I put it up there, I put law plus faith
Mm-hmm.
equals understanding
Mm-hmm.
equals wisdom.
Okay. Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's almost like, oh no, I said equals. I said law plus faith plus equal. Law plus faith. Yeah, I said it right.
Okay.
I put two equals.
I like either way, but because what it does is it helps you understand that understanding and wisdom are one and the same. Well, not necessarily one and the same, but you can't have one without the other.
Yeah, you can't have. Yeah, well, you can have, again. You can have understanding.
You can, but you should have. But when you have, because when you have understanding, now you should understand to have wisdom. And the same thing, when you have wisdom, you should now have understanding, because it's gonna be hard pressed to operate in just understanding.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
It's going to be hard to operate in just wisdom. I have met some wise fools, right? The Bible says that, right? I'm serious, man. I've met this one wise dude. He used to drink every day, all the time, wise beyond his years, knew everything, but he never applied anything. So it has to be a combination of those two things in order for it to operate the correct way. And because you can pick up one and not use the other.
Yeah.
That's how would that be? That would be like hammering a nail without a hammer.
Yeah. But see, that's how I look at knowledge and faith.
Mm-hmm.
Because people don't put faith in between that,
No.
because you can have knowledge, but if you don't take a chance on exploring what's been put in front of you,
Yeah.
that's the faith part,
Yeah.
because you don't know,
Right.
you don't see the results of what this knowledge says it can produce yet.
Right. That was what
You
grade
know,
school was all
yeah,
about.
yeah, you have to. So it's just like I feel like they laid that foundation down,
Mhm.
and when Christ came and the apostles came, they established that faith. Did you know I never realized that. I looked that up. Faith, the word faith is in the scriptures, in the Bible, I think 400 and something
Yeah.
times.
Yeah.
Out of all of those times, only 2 of those times is in the Old Testament. 2 times.
Yeah. Yeah.
In the 2 times that the word faith is mentioned in
Yeah.
scriptures, the first one is when God told Moses, they don't have no faith. He told him, he said, they don't have any faith.
Yeah.
And bro used to say that all the time. Like, well, he always say that they was more spiritual than we are. And
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I beg to differ. I don't, like
Yeah.
they didn't need faith.
Right.
They was actually seeing
Right.
supernatural
Right.
encounters of
Right.
God taking place. You don't need no faith. If God was coming just talking to me,
Right.
telling me, go do this, and I see the sea split in half in front of me,
Yep.
like I'm gonna believe in God. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
I'm not gonna doubt that.
here's the thing, though.
Mm-hmm.
There were people that saw it
Mm-hmm.
and still were ready to go back.
Yeah, I mean, and this is the thing. This
That's
is
the
the
trick
thing.
out there.
That's the thing. But that didn't. I don't believe that took away their belief in
Right.
God
Right.
or in that God. It's
Right.
just they. It's the choice. It's always that duality, like you
Right.
said. You know what I'm saying?
And here's the trick out thing. What you just said, their belief in God. Their belief in God didn't change, but their understanding was that,
Exactly.
okay, that's God. I don't want to be a part of that.
Yeah. I mean, the thing about it is, I don't think that a lot of, and especially when we're talking about the Hebrews,
Mm,
I don't believe a lot of them had understanding. I
mm,
think it was a very select
yeah.
few,
Yeah.
because I can go all the way to the apostles.
Hmm.
They did not have understanding.
Yeah.
Understanding didn't come to Christ left and the Holy Spirit came.
Right.
It was a select few. Like I
Yeah.
say, we talked about Enoch, we talked about
Hmm.
Elijah. Like, but even Abraham, even
Hmm.
Moses,
Hmm.
Moses didn't see the promised land.
No.
And the thing about it is, their thought pattern was always from a physical aspect.
Right.
When they were in captivity, when the Assyrians, just annihilated northern Israel,
Mm,
when Babylonian came in and they took over Judea, and the
mm,
Persians came in, all they wanted to do, I want to be free. We
right.
want to be liberated. We
Right.
want to be a mighty nation like these other nations. It was always a physical freedom.
Yeah.
And they always thought that the Messiah was coming to liberate them
Yeah.
in the physical sense. That's
Right.
why leading all the way up into the apostles, that's what they thought too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Jesus is like, no, this ain't got
Yeah.
nothing to do with. I didn't come for
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
I'm coming to free you in your mind and your
Right.
thinking,
Right.
and connect your mind with your heart.
The
You
next
understand
box.
what I'm saying?
The
Exactly.
box.
So that's why I say it's they didn't even understand, but
Yeah.
we do. So
Yeah.
I'm leading up to where we are now.
Yeah.
I earnestly believe that we're in the age of understanding
Okay.
right now.
Yeah.
I believe that. I
Yeah.
believe you had knowledge. The law was established.
Right.
Faith came in,
Right.
and the Holy Spirit came. We live it. A lot of believers call it the dispensation of the Holy Spirit.
Okay.
If that's what you want to call it,
Mhm.
believe that that's where we're at. And it's been a season that we had to go through the challenges of
Mhm.
religion and understanding, and the attacks on it. And now we're breaking out of a lot of that tradition and
Right.
a lot of that religion. And we're
Right.
beginning to really understand God for who he is
Yeah.
and what he's been establishing. And it's important for us to be able to have that understanding foundation laid. I believe that
Yeah.
this is that laying foundation. You know, I,